This is Mr. Elmhorst with a 6th grade math help video for ordering the rational numbers homework. So we take a look at the first one. I am focusing on decimal place value. So we're looking at 8/20ths. So let me make sure I got the marker turned on here. So I'm focusing on 8/20ths. And if you want to use a step out table that you might have learned in 5th grade, that would be helpful here. So you got 8/20ths. And if we want this out of tenths, hundredths, and thousandths, tenths and hundredths place value, we need to change this fraction into tenths, hundredths, or thousandths. So we divide this by 2, that would give us 4/10. So this fractional value, 8/20, is going to be 4/10 or 40 hundredths. So the next one we don't need to convert. It's 35 hundredths is given. And then we have 30%. 30% means 30 out of 100. So it's 30 hundredths would already be given. And then we have 6 in the tenths place value. 6 in the tenths place value. Then we fill it in. And then 42% is 42 out of 100 or 42 hundredths. So now that we've converted fractions, decimals, and percents into common place value, we're going to go through and see which one is the G and which one is the L. So 40, 35, 30. 30 hundredths is going to be the lowest or the least, and 60 hundredths is going to be the greatest. We're going to go all the way over here to the right. We're going to start with the G, which is 6/10. And then we're going to go all the way to the left with the L, which is 30%. Now we put the rest of it in order in the middle. So we got 30, 35. The next one is 40, which is 8/20ths. And then we have 42%. So we put them into order from least to greatest. So we're going to focus, as yesterday's lesson was compare equivalent decimal place values. So moving on to the next one, we got Charlie's Chocolate Factory, and we're looking at the difference in the packaging of the gumballs. Number lines can be very helpful in putting things into order from least to greatest. So the bag 1, there's a difference of positive 0.1. So it looks like this is broken up into hundredths place value. 0.1 is going to go over here, and that looks like that is the G. And then we have negative 12 hundredths. And you may have to create the number line a little bit past there. Negative 1, and then a little bit past. So that's going to be negative 12 hundredths. The next one, we have negative 7 hundredths. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the negative direction. Put a solid circle there. Negative 7 hundredths. Then we have positive 9 hundredths. Well, this is 10 hundredths, and this would be 9 hundredths right before that. 0.09. And then we have negative 0.04. So we're going to go starting at 0, negative 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 4 hundredths. So on the left, this one's going to be our L, your biggest negative, and then your biggest positive is going to be 1/10 or 10 hundredths. So we put them in order from G to L, starting from the right, going to the left. 0.10, 0.09, negative 0.04, negative 0.07, and then negative 0.12. We got our 2 examples completed there. And here's the third example on the first page. We're going to put them into order on the number line. And it's going to say greatest to least, but let's just get them onto the number line. Here we have 0, label it, negative 2 1/2. So you're going to go negative 2 and then 1/2 past it. This is a negative direction. And we have positive 4 3/4. It's going to go over here to 4 and then a little bit past to 3/4. 1.7, go over here to 1 and estimate about 0.7 between 1.5 and 2.0. Got 1.7, negative 1.3, go here to negative 1, and you're going to go past a little bit. Positive 3, and then negative 4 is right there on the number line. Label your G. And this one, the greatest, is going to be 4 3/4. And then your L, negative 4. Putting them onto the number line will help you organize them. And you would go from right to left, from greatest to least. And the last example on the first page, descending means you are going down. Going down means you need to start with the greatest and go to the least. So right here, the least should be on the right side. So if you look at 25%, 25% is going to be 0.25, and that's going to be 30%. That one is not the least. 2/5 would not be the least. 2/5 is on our fraction decimal percent chart. 2/5 is going to be 0.4. So if you're looking for the G, 2/5 is going to be the greatest. 25% is going to be the least. So the correct answer would be the last one. And we're going to label this G down below. Okay, so when we take a look at the next part here on page 2, the whole number in fraction or decimal form is not going to change. So 130 is going to go on the left side here. All of these, the focus is not on 130. All of them have 130. So you're going to look at the decimal place value to the right. And our fraction decimal percent chart, we just did this one today, is going to be 50 hundredths for 1/2. And then we have 70, just put a 0 on there. And then 1/4 is 25 hundredths. We got 25 hundredths. We got 12 hundredths, 8 hundredths, 50 hundredths, 70, and 25. So we're going to go through these. We need to figure out the G and the L. So out of all of these, 70 hundredths is going to be the G, which is Ashley. And the least is going to be 8 hundredths. And 8 hundredths is Diana. So we go down below. We need to start off with Ashley as being the greatest, and then Diana for the least. Jeff did not have the least. So once we identify the G and the L, then we can see our correct answer for putting into order from greatest to least. Same is true for the next one. We're going to look at decimal place value. So we have 6.6. This one is negative. 5.8. That one's positive. And then 3/4 is 0.75. And that looks like it's positive. And then we have 27 divided by 5. 5 times 5 is 25. There's 2 left over. We're going to continue dividing. Do not stop with just a remainder. 5 goes into 20 4 times. This decimal terminated at 5.4. I'm going to put a 0 on there. We don't necessarily have to put the positive over there. And then we have negative 5, 62%, which is 5/8 is 625 thousandths. We don't necessarily need to look at that because we have hundredths, hundredths, hundredths going down. So now we look for the G, and then we look for the L. The biggest negative is going to take the L. The biggest positive is going to take the G. So this one says least to greatest. And there's only one that starts with a negative and then goes to a positive, least to greatest in the correct order. The last two are just quick conversion questions. As soon as we see 35%, 35 as a fraction goes over 100. And then we factor it. 5 is a factor of 100. 5 is a factor of 35. So 5 times 7 is 35. 5 times 20 is 100. When you cancel that factor, you are left with your simplified fraction. And you can do the same thing for the last one. 2 as a whole number stays the same. And then we put 74 over the decimal place value of hundredths. And then we factor it. 74 is an even number. And 2 also works with 100. So if you look at your answers here, 74 does not go over 10. And that one doesn't even have a whole number. And you don't just take 4 and 7 and make a fraction out of it. So it looks like 2 times 37. 2 times 37 is 74, and 2 times 50 is 100. So if you cancel the 2, you have simplified your fraction.